Friday arrived like an execution date. Clarissa spent the day pretending to function, playing with Ember, reading stories, doing anything to distract herself from the clock. But her hands trembled when she braided Ember's hair. Her stomach refused food. "Pull yourself together," she told herself. "You've survived worse. You've survived her before." At 6:30, Mrs. Chen brought a dress, black, elegant, expensive. It fit perfectly. "Mr. Havelock's choice," Mrs. Chen said when Clarissa stared at it. Of course it was, because Killian still remembered her size, still dressed her like a doll he could protect or control. "He's not controlling you," the reasonable part of her mind whispered. "He's trying to take care of you." "Same thing," the traumatized part answered. She put on the dress, applied makeup she'd found in the bathroom, foundation to hide the pallor, mascara to make her eyes look alive instead of dead. When she looked in the mirror, the woman staring back almost looked human. Almost. Downstairs, the formal dining room had been transformed. Candles flickered, crystals sparkled, china so delicate it looked like it would shatter if you so much as breathed wrong. And at the head of the table, impeccable in ice blue silk, sat Lenora Volkav. She looked the same. Older, perhaps. Fine lines now framed her eyes. But the posture was still regal, the gaze still razor-sharp, dissecting you with a single glance. Those eyes landed on Clarissa. Every cell in her body screamed run. She didn't. Instead, she walked into the room like she belonged there, chin high, spine straight, channeling every ounce of courage she had left. Killian stood when she entered. "Mother, this is Clarissa. Clarissa, my mother, Lenora." Lenora smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "Clarissa, how unexpected." "Mrs. Volkav." Clarissa's voice came out steady, a small miracle. "Thank you for joining us." "How could I not?" Lenora's tone was silk over steel. "When I heard my son's supposedly dead girlfriend had risen from the grave, I simply had to see for myself." Her gaze swept over Clarissa. "You look well, for a corpse." "Mother," Killian's warning was sharp. "I'm merely observing, darling. No need to be defensive." They sat. Mrs. Chen began serving, an elaborate fish dish that probably cost more than Clarissa's entire wardrobe. Then Ember appeared, dressed in soft pink, an outfit someone, probably Mrs. Chen, had chosen. She climbed into the chair beside Clarissa. Lenora's gaze locked on her. "And who is this?" "Ember," Clarissa said, pulling her daughter close. "My daughter." "How old?" 7. The math happened behind Lenora's eyes, lightning-fast calculation. Then her smile sharpened. "Interesting." Killian cleared his throat. "Shall we eat?" They ate, or tried to. Clarissa pushed food around her plate, hyper-aware of every motion, every breath, every sip Ember took. Something was wrong. She couldn't explain it, only feel it, a creeping electric sense of danger that made her skin prickle. Halfway through the main course, she noticed Ember hadn't touched her food. "Baby," Clarissa whispered, "you need to eat." Ember shook her head, small, uncertain. "What's wrong?" "Don't know. Don't like it." "It's the same thing the rest of us are eating." "Don't care. Don't want it." Lenora laughed lightly. "Children can be so particular, can't they?" Clarissa looked down at her plate, then Ember's, then at Lenora's, barely touched. Her gut twisted. "We're not eating this." Killian frowned. "What?" "Something's wrong with the food. I can—" How could she explain it? That instinct all mothers are born with. That sixth sense that screams when danger touches their child. "I can feel it." "Clarissa, you're being paranoid." "Ember," Clarissa said softly, "go get socks." Ember's face brightened. 3 days ago, she'd found a stray cat, scraggly, orange, and loud, and Killian had let her keep it over Clarissa's protests. Now, apparently, it had a purpose. Ember ran off. What are you doing? Killian asked, low, uneasy. Testing a theory. Ember returned, clutching the cat that purred like an old engine. Clarissa tore off a small piece of the fish and placed it on the floor. Sock sniffed, then ate it eagerly. They waited. 30 seconds later, the cat convulsed, fell, stopped breathing. Ember screamed, and the room exploded into chaos. Killian was on his feet, face drained of color. Mrs. Chen rushed in. Desmond appeared from nowhere, gun already drawn. And Clarissa looked at Lenora. Lenora, whose expression had gone carefully, chillingly blank. "Gather every staff member," Killian said, his voice dead and cold. "Every single person who touched this food. Now." The next 30 minutes were chaos. Staff members herded into the room, questions shouted, denials, tears. Then one of the guards, a younger man Clarissa didn't recognize, cracked. "It was him," he blurted, pointing to the sous chef. "I saw him add something to the fish, before it was plated." The sous chef went white. I wouldn't. Why?" Killian's voice could have cut glass. "Why would you poison my family?" The man's gaze slid sideways, toward Lenora. "She made me." The silence that followed was absolute, so thick you could hear the blood pounding in Clarissa's ears. Killian turned slowly to his mother. "What did he say?" Lenora's face remained serene. "The man is clearly lying, trying to shift blame." "She threatened my sister," the sous chef burst out. "Said if I didn't do it, she'd have her killed. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't want—" "Enough!" Killian's hand went to the gun at his hip, his eyes, hard as stone, locked on his mother. "Mother, is this true?" "Of course not. I would never—" "Is this true?" Something flickered across Lenora's face. Calculation. She was weighing options, deciding which lie might still work. Then she smiled. "Yes." The world tilted. "Yes," she said again, voice smooth, cold. "I poisoned the food, though poison is such an ugly word. I prefer removed a problem." Her hand flicked toward Clarissa. "This girl shows up with a convenient sob story, and a child who happens to be the perfect age to be yours. And you just accept it? You're smarter than this, Killian." "She's not a problem," he said tightly. She's a liar." Lenora's voice cracked like a whip, and suddenly she wasn't elegant anymore. She was a viper, coiled and ready to strike. "Clarissa Thorne died in a plane crash. Her name was on the manifest. I made sure of it." Made sure of it. The words hung in the air like smoke. Clarissa's blood turned to ice. And then, before she could stop herself, she started laughing. Everyone turned to stare. The laughter bubbled up from someplace dark and broken, edged with hysteria. Clarissa stood, still laughing, tears streaking down her face. "Oh my God," she gasped. "Oh my God, you actually— Clarissa?" Killian's voice faltered, uncertain. He looked at her like she'd just shattered the sky. She turned to him. The laughter died. Her voice came out steady, sharp as glass. "You want to know why I don't remember? You want to know what happened 3 years ago?" "Don't," Lenora said sharply. "Your mother happened." Clarissa's voice was calm now, cold, lethal calm. "Your mother, who told me you'd never want a child, that I was ruining your life, that the best thing I could do was disappear." Killian had gone statue still. "And I was going to," Clarissa continued. "I was going to get on that plane and vanish just like she wanted. But then I found out I was pregnant. And I thought—" Her voice broke. "I thought maybe if I told her, if she knew about the baby, she'd change her mind. She'd let me talk to you." "You knew?" Killian's voice was barely a whisper. "I called her," Clarissa said, eyes locked on Lenora. "From the airport, told her about Ember, begged her to let me stay. And do you know what she said?" Lenora said nothing. "She said, get on the plane. Said if I really loved you, I'd leave. That my bastard child would destroy everything you'd built. Clarissa's voice shook now. So I listened. I went to board. But at the last second, I couldn't. I traded tickets with a flight attendant, gave her mine, walked away. And the plane crashed, Killian breathed. 6 minutes after takeoff. Clarissa turned back to Lenora, eyes burning. Which means you didn't just want me gone, you wanted me dead. You crashed that plane, killed 83 people, just to make sure I'd never come back. Killian's jaw tightened. His next words came low and shaking. Is this true? He asked his mother. Lenora lifted her chin. Every word. The confirmation was somehow worse than a denial. Why? Killian's voice sounded broken, shattered. Because I love you. Lenora's tone was fervent, zealous. Because you're my son. Because that girl, she spat the word like venom, would have destroyed you, made you weak, soft. You needed someone with Mafia blood, someone who understood this life, not some naive law student who thought she could fix you. 83 people. Collateral damage. 83 people! Killian's roar made everyone flinch. You murdered 83 innocent people because you didn't approve of my girlfriend? I protected you. You destroyed me. He was shaking now, fury radiating off him in violent waves. Do you have any idea what the last 3 years have been like? What I became after she died? You became strong, Lenora said coolly. Became the leader this organization needed. I became a monster. Semantics. Killian pulled his gun, pointed it at his mother. The room froze. Get out, he said quietly. Killian, get out of my house. Get out of my city. Get out of my fucking life. I'm your mother. You're nothing to me. His voice was ice, unforgiving. You're exiled, banished. If I see you again, if I even hear you've come within 100 miles of my family, I'll put a bullet in your skull myself. Lenora's face contorted, fury twisting into disbelief. You can't exile me. I'm a Volkav. You're no one. He cocked the gun. Leave, now, or I end this permanently. For a long, terrible moment, mother and son stared at each other. Then Lenora smoothed her dress, collected her purse. You'll regret this, she said softly. When she betrays you, and she will, they always do, you'll remember who actually loved you. She walked out. The door closed. Killian stood there, gun still raised, hands trembling like he was holding back an earthquake. Later. Killian sat on the floor, not on a chair, not standing like the powerful man he was supposed to be, on the floor, back against the wall, gun discarded beside him like a toy he'd outgrown. Clarissa had never seen him like this. Even when they dated, back when she'd still been naive enough to believe love could exist separate from violence, he'd always maintained control, always measured, always 3 steps ahead. The man who could order an execution over breakfast and never spill his coffee. That man was gone. This man, this broken thing with red-rimmed eyes and shaking hands, was someone else entirely. Say something, Killian whispered. His voice was raw, destroyed. Please, say anything. Clarissa stood across the room, arms wrapped around herself. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to take Ember and disappear again. Because this vulnerability, this collapse, was more dangerous than any gun. Vulnerable men were unpredictable. Vulnerable men made mistakes. But she stayed. What do you want me to say? I don't know. He laughed, and it came out like a sob. That you forgive me? That I'm not... His voice cracked. That I'm not responsible for what she did? You're not. Then why does it feel like I am? His head dropped into his hands. 83 people, Clarissa. 83 people died because my mother... Because I... You didn't crash that plane. I might as well have. He looked up at her then, and Christ, his face was devastated. Tears tracked down his cheeks without shame. If I hadn't been who I was, he whispered. If I'd been anyone else, if you'd fallen in love with literally any other person on the planet, they'd still be alive, Clarissa finished quietly. The words landed like bullets. Killian flinched. Yes. Silence stretch. Between them, heavy, suffocating. Then Killian spoke again, softer now, more broken. Why didn't you call me? What? After the plane crashed, after you survived, why didn't you call? His eyes were desperate, searching hers for answers. You had to know I'd move heaven and earth to find you, to protect you. Why did you just vanish? Clarissa's jaw tightened. Don't. Don't what? Don't act like it was simple, like I could just pick up a phone. You could have. The roar exploded out of him. Killian surged to his feet, and suddenly he wasn't broken anymore. He was furious incarnate. You could have called, left a message, sent a fucking smoke signal, anything except letting me think you were dead. I was protecting Ember. From me? His voice cracked. You thought I'd, what, hurt you? Hurt her? From your mother. Clarissa was shouting now too. 3 years of fear and rage bubbling over. From the woman who just tried to poison us? Who killed 83 people to make sure I stayed gone? You think she would have stopped if she knew I was alive? I would have protected you. How? Clarissa stepped forward, shaking. How would you protect me from her when you didn't even know she was the threat? When you spent 3 years mourning me while she probably celebrated when you... Her voice broke. When you told me yourself you never wanted kids? Killian froze. What? You said it. The words tasted like acid. That night, 2 weeks before I left, we were in bed and I asked you about the future and you said... She forced herself to meet his eyes. You said you'd never bring a child into this world, that your father destroyed you, and you'd be damned if you repeated the cycle. That anyone who loved you should accept you'd never be a father. The color drained from Killian's face. I never... You did. Clarissa's voice was steady now. Cold. So, when I found out I was pregnant, what was I supposed to do? Call you? Tell you about the baby you explicitly said you never wanted? Watch you choose between me and your principles? I would have chosen you. The certainty in his voice was absolute. Every fucking time I would have chosen you. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He closed the distance between them in 3 strides. Because I've spent the last 3 years half dead. I've built an empire on the back of grief. I've done things. His voice caught. I've done things that would make you sick because I had nothing left to lose. No conscience, no hope, just rage, and your ghost, and the certainty that I'd failed the only person who ever mattered. Tears streamed down his face again, and Clarissa felt her own eyes burn. You want to know what I became after you died? Killian's voice trembled. I became my father. Worse than my father. I tortured people, killed without hesitation. Turned into the exact monster you probably thought I was all along. Because if you were gone, if the best part of me was gone, then what the fuck was the point of being human? Stop. I drowned in you. His voice was ragged, desperate. Every song, every place, every goddamn cup of coffee made me think of you. I carried your locket like a talisman. I planted that oak tree you wanted. Did you know that? In the garden. Because you made me promise. And I kept the promise to a ghost because keeping promises was the only thing that made me feel like I'd been real. Like we'd been real. Clarissa's composure shattered. She'd spent 3 years building walls, convincing herself that leaving was right, that Killian would move on. Find someone else. Someone better. Someone without the complication of a child he'd never wanted. But he hadn't moved on. He'd broken. And she'd let him. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't... Killian stopped, took a shuddering breath. You should have told me. About Ember, about being pregnant. You should have given me the choice. I was scared. Of me? Of losing you. The admission burst out raw and unguarded. Of seeing your face when I told you. Of watching you calculate whether the baby was worth it, whether I was worth it, and I couldn't. Her voice cracked. I couldn't survive that rejection, so I left first. You didn't lose me. Killian reached out, hesitated, then cupped her face in his hands. His touch was gentle, reverent. You never could have lost me. I was yours the moment you smiled at me over that mixed-up coffee. I've been yours every second since. Even when I thought you were dead, especially when I thought you were dead, I was still yours. Killian, I would have been terrified, he continued. His thumbs brushed away her tears. Of fatherhood, of fucking up the way my father fucked me up. But I would have tried. For you. For her. I would have tried so goddamn hard. Clarissa's knees nearly gave out. 3 years. 3 years of running, of hiding, of convincing herself she'd made the right choice. And here was the truth, staring her in the face. She'd broken both of them for nothing. I thought I was protecting her, she whispered. From your world. From your mother. From me. No, never from you. She gripped his wrists, trembling. But I was 24 and pregnant and alone. Your mother told me you'd never forgive me, that the baby would ruin everything. And I believed her because believing her was easier than calling you and finding out she was right. She wasn't right. I know that now. Do you? Killian's gaze searched hers. Because you're still lying to me, still pretending you don't remember, still keeping me at arm's length like I'm going to shatter you. You might. Never. The word landed sharp, fierce, final. Never again. I don't care what it takes. I don't care who I have to kill or what I have to burn. You and Ember. His voice caught. You're my family, and I protect my family. Even from yourself? Especially from myself. They stood there, foreheads pressed together, breathing the same air. I missed you, Clarissa whispered. Every single day. I missed you so much I couldn't breathe. Then don't leave again. His voice broke, pleading, desperate. Please, whatever happens, whatever comes next, don't leave again. Your mother is gone, exiled, and if she comes back, I'll end it. No hesitation, no doubt. She tried to kill you, tried to kill Ember. That's unforgivable. She's your mother. She's a murderer. Killian pulled back just enough to look at her, really look at her. And you're the woman I love. That math is simple. Love. Clarissa tested the word like it was fragile. You still, after everything, did you think I stopped? He almost smiled. Almost. Clarissa, I buried you, mourned you, spent 3 years trying to drink and fight myself into forgetting you. And it didn't work. Because you don't stop loving someone just because they die. And you sure as hell don't stop when they come back. Even if they lied? Even then. Even if they kept your daughter from you? Even then. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. Though we're going to have a very long conversation about that later, after I've stopped feeling like my chest is being crushed. Killian. I know. He kissed her forehead, soft, reverent. I know you were protecting her. I know you thought you were doing the right thing, but Clarissa... His voice cracked. I deserve to know, I deserve to be there, to hold you when you were scared, to feel her kick, to... He stopped, swallowed hard. I missed everything. I know. 7 years. The words came out strangled. 7 years of her life, first words, first steps, first... He couldn't continue. Clarissa pulled him close, let him bury his face in her shoulder, felt his body shake with sobs he'd been holding back for years. The great Killian Havelock, Mafia Don, king of the underworld, untouchable, completely shattered in her arms. You have us now, she whispered into his hair. That's what matters. You have us now. What if I'm terrible at it? His voice was muffled, small. What if I don't know how to... You're already good at it. Her voice softened. I've watched you with her. You're patient, kind, everything I... She stopped. Everything I hoped you'd be. Killian pulled back. His face was a mess, tears, snot, devastation written in every line. But his eyes held something she hadn't seen in 3 years. Hope. I want to be her father, he said quietly. Officially. I want all of it. The school plays, the nightmares, teaching her to ride a bike. I want to be there. You will be. Promise me. His hands gripped her shoulders. Promise me this is real, that you're not going to disappear again, that we're going to try. Clarissa looked at this man, this beautiful, broken, terrifying man who had never stopped loving her, and made a decision. No more running, no more lies. I promise, she said softly. We're going to try. The kiss was inevitable, desperate and gentle, 3 years overdue. He tasted like salt and grief and coming home. She poured every apology, every regret, every aching moment of missing him into it. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Killian rested his forehead against hers. I'm going to be the father my father never was, he whispered. I swear to God, Clarissa, I'm going to be better. You already are. A small sound came from the doorway. They both turned. Ember stood there in her pajamas, clutching a stuffed rabbit Mrs. Chen must have given her. Her little face was swollen from crying, lost and uncertain. Is Socks really dead? She asked in a tiny voice. Killian crossed the room in seconds. He dropped to his knees in front of her, eye level, his voice infinitely gentle. Yes, baby. I'm so sorry. Socks is gone. Because of the bad lady? Yes. Is she coming back? No. His tone turned to steel. She's never coming back, I promise. Ember studied him with those 2 old eyes. Then she asked, Are you really my daddy? The question hit like a physical blow. Killian glanced back at Clarissa. She nodded. He turned back to Ember. Yes, I'm really your daddy. Where were you? Christ. How did you explain to a 7-year-old that her father thought she didn't exist? That you'd been grieving something that was never gone? I didn't know about you, Killian said softly. If I'd known for even 1 second that you existed, I would have moved the whole world to find you. But I didn't know. And I'm so sorry. Ember processed this in silence. Then, do you want to be my daddy? More than anything. Even though I'm weird? Killian frowned. You're not weird. Mummy says I ask too many questions, and I don't have friends, and I like bugs. Bugs are cool. Asking questions is how you learn, and he gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. You have a friend now. Me. Daddies can't be friends. Says who? The other kids. They say daddies are boring and have rules. Well, Killian admitted, smiling, I have rules, but I'm definitely not boring. Want to know a secret? Ember nodded. I like bugs too, especially beetles. There's one called a Goliath beetle that can grow as big as your hand. Really? Really. We could get you books about bugs. Maybe even raise some butterflies. Ember's face lit up. Could we? Absolutely. She studied him for a long, serious moment. Then, with the solemn gravity of a child making an important decision, she held out her stuffed rabbit. This is Jasper. He protects me from nightmares. Killian took the rabbit carefully, reverently. He's very handsome. He likes you. I'm honored. Mummy says you're going to keep us safe. I am. His voice was absolute. Always. Ember nodded. Then, with the trust only children possess, she climbed into his arms. Killian caught her, held her, and over her small shoulder, his eyes met Clarissa's. "Thank you," he mouthed. Clarissa felt something inside her chest crack open, something that had been frozen for 3 long years, suddenly, painfully thawing. They were going to be okay. Somehow, impossibly, they were going to be okay. Epilogue. Graduation day. 4 months felt like a lifetime. 4 months of Ember learning to call Killian Daddy without hesitation. 4 months of family dinners where no one tested the food for poison first. Of Killian teaching Ember to play chess, while Clarissa pretended not to notice how he always let her win. Of slowly, carefully rebuilding what Lenora had destroyed. No one had heard from Lenora. Killian's network, vast and terrifying, reported sightings. Always moving. Always one step ahead of her son's reach. Clarissa didn't think about her. Couldn't afford to. Instead, she focused on the small things. Ember's laughter. Killian's arms around her at night. The oak tree in the garden that had grown 3 inches. The life they were building from ashes. And now this, Ember's first-grade graduation. The elementary school was modest, deliberately chosen by Clarissa over the elite private academies Killian had suggested. She wanted Ember to have something normal. Something untouched by the Mafia world that still lurked at the edges of their existence. They sat in the auditorium. Killian in a suit that probably cost more than the school's annual budget, Clarissa in a simple dress, as children filed on stage in miniature caps and gowns. Ember spotted them and waved frantically. Killian waved back, and Clarissa saw his eyes shine. "She's so big," he murmured. "She's 7. "I know, but—" He stopped, voice rough. "I missed her being 6, 5, 4, 3. Stop." Clarissa took his hand, squeezed gently. "You're here now. I know, I just—" "Killian." She turned to face him fully. "You're a good father. Better than you give yourself credit for. Stop punishing yourself for time you can't get back." He looked at her. Really looked. Then leaned over and kissed her softly. "Have I told you lately that I love you? Not in the last hour. I love you. I love you too." The ceremony began. Children sang off key. The principal gave a speech about potential and futures. Parents sniffled and took too many photos. Then came the part where each child shared who their hero was. Ember's turn arrived. She stepped up to the microphone, tiny in her oversized cap, and Clarissa's heart clenched. "My hero," Ember began, voice high and clear, "is my daddy." Killian went rigid beside her. "His name is Killian Volkav," Ember continued, slightly mangling the pronunciation. "And he's the best daddy in the whole world. He teaches me about bugs and reads me stories, and he promised he'll never leave me. He says I can be anything I want when I grow up, even the president or a bug scientist." Scattered laughter rippled through the audience. "I used to not have a daddy," Ember said, her voice wavering slightly. "And that was sad. But now I do. And that makes me happy. So he's my hero. Because he came back. And because—" She looked directly at them, her smile radiant. "Because he loves me and Mummy so much." She bowed, because Ember was dramatic like that, and returned to her seat. The ceremony continued, but Clarissa had stopped listening. She looked at Killian. The great Killian Volkav, untouchable Mafia Don, a man who'd conquered an empire on the back of violence and grief, crying silently in an elementary school auditorium. "Hey," she whispered. He looked at her, tears tracking down his face. "I don't deserve this." "Yes, you do. I've done terrible things. You've also done beautiful things." She cupped his face gently. "You chose us. Every day, you choose us. That's what matters." He swallowed. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." She kissed him softly. "You're stuck with us, Volkov. Better get used to it." He laughed through his tears and pulled her close. "Best prison sentence I've ever received." Later, after the ceremony, after the photos, after Ember had proudly dragged them to every display of her artwork, they walked to the car. Ember skipped ahead, cap askew, clutching a certificate that declared her future entomologist. Killian caught Clarissa's hand, laced their fingers together. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For coming back. For letting me try. For—" He gestured toward Ember. "For her." Clarissa stopped walking and turned to face him. The evening sun brushed against his face, catching the faint silver at his temples that hadn't been there 3 years ago. The lines around his eyes. The quiet evidence of grief weathered and survived. "I told you once," she said softly, "that everyone has damage. Yours just happens to be louder than most people's." And I still believe that." She smiled. "You're a good man, Killian Volkav, even when you don't think you are, especially when you don't think you are." "I'm really not—" "You are." She kissed him gently. "You really, really are." From the car, Ember's voice rang out. "Come on! We're supposed to get ice cream." Killian laughed. "She's bossy. Wonder where she gets it." "Definitely you." "Absolutely me." They walked to the car together. Killian buckled Ember into her booster seat while Clarissa slid into the passenger side. Normal. Domestic. Everything Clarissa had once believed she'd never have. As they drove away from the school, toward ice cream, toward home, toward whatever future they would build together, Clarissa caught Killian's eyes in the rearview mirror. He smiled, and for the first time in 3 years, Clarissa smiled back without fear. They'd survived Lenora, survived grief, lies, and 3 years of separation, survived everything the world had thrown at them. They would survive whatever came next. Together. The end. We've come to the end of the video. Please like, share, and comment which part you loved most, and tell me where you're watching from. You can also check out my other stories on this channel. It means the world to me. Thank you for watching, and bye. See you in my next video.